Back from being on location in Transylvania, it's Count Dracula. And here's the actor who always makes a big splash, the creature from the Black Lagoon. And as if Hollywood outfits can't get any skimpier, it's the Invisible Man. Hi, I'm Bobby, and welcome to the Universal Monster Oscar Ceremony. Actors like Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, and the others never won Oscars or were even nominated for their amazing work in the Universal Monster movies. So today, we're going to rectify it by having our own Universal Monster Oscars. You guys, my very kind viewers, have already voted in the different categories. And today, we have the results. The monsters at Universal have some of the most iconic makeups around. And for many of them, even if you haven't seen the movie, you know exactly who it is. So our first category is Best Makeup, and the nominees are Lon Chaney's self-done makeup for the Phantom of the Opera, Jack Pierce's makeup for Frankenstein's monster, Jack Pierce's makeup for The Mummy, Bud Westmore and his team's makeup for the creature from the Black Lagoon, and Bela Lugosi's self-done makeup for Dracula. And the winner is Jack Pierce for his unforgettable, and that's unforgettable for 87 years, makeup for Frankenstein's monster. Accepting the makeup award for Mr. Pierce is his own creation, the monster.
Foundation good. Speaking as Boris Karloff, this is for the best makeup man in the business.
Boris said that about Jack when he guest starred on This Is Your Life. By the way, the close runner-up is Lon Chaney as the Phantom. While the budgets for these movies weren't always high, they always had awesome music. So the nominees for the Best Music Award are the 1943 Phantom of the Opera music by Edward Ward, the Wolfman music by Uncredited, aka Charles Previn, Hans J. Salter, and Frank Skinner, the Bride of Frankenstein music by Franz Waxman, Dracula's Daughter music by Uncredited, aka Heinz Rohmheld, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon music by our favorite composer, Uncredited, aka Henry Mancini, Hans J. Salter, and Herman Stein. And the winner is one of old Hollywood's greatest composers, Franz Waxman, for his incredible score for The Bride of Frankenstein. Accepting the music Oscar is the bride herself. Ah, what a speech. And speaking of speeches, the Universal Monster movies have some of the best and most quoted lines in horror movie history. So here are the nominees for the best line. Listen to them, children of the night, what music they make. From Dracula. It's alive, it's alive! From Frankenstein. To a new world of gods and monsters. From The Bride of Frankenstein. Even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. From The Wolfman. And Ranfield laughing from Dracula. And the winner is Children of the Night from Dracula. This line was written by Bram Stoker and is spoken by Bela Lugosi and is a perfect reflection of the haunting atmosphere of Dracula.
Thank you for the award.
But you haven't seen it yet.
The award is you.
When Bela first came to America, he didn't speak English and used his amazing powers of concentration to learn his lines phonetically. Now, despite the rumor, by the time of Dracula, he could speak English. But from that experience, he knew how to make every word and every syllable be as effective as possible. One of the hallmarks of these movies are the large groups of villagers. Sometimes they're there for atmosphere, sometimes they're antagonists, and sometimes they're just fun. So here are the nominees for the grooviest group of villagers. The terrified Transylvanian villagers in Dracula. The barflies at the Lion's Head Inn in The Invisible Man. The vicious villagers in Frankenstein. The sometimes vicious, sometimes funny villagers in The Bride of Frankenstein. And the singing villagers in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. And the winner, by a substantial margin, are the barflies in The Invisible Man. This group of characters were inspired by the real people in the director James Whale's hometown of Dudley, and they have such a flavor to them. And their reactions to The Invisible Man are hilarious. So here is their special prize.
I'd like to thank all the little beers that made this moment possible.
Before moving on, I'd like to present the Honorary Spook Award to Mr. Carl Laemmle Jr. While Carl Laemmle Sr. founded Universal Studios, it was his son, Carl Laemmle Jr., who wanted to make horror movies. The Laemmles were German, and horror stories like Krampus and Hansel and Gretel were part of German culture, and Carl Laemmle Jr. grew up loving those stories, and he wanted to make movies like that. His first horror movie was Dracula, and everyone thought it was a stupid idea, and that he was stupid for thinking of it. Why would anyone pay money to get scared? But he made it anyway. Because Dracula was a hit, they made Frankenstein and The Mummy and all the others. Universal Horror wouldn't exist without him. What would Halloween be like without him? And would horror even be an American movie genre without Carl Laemmle Jr.? In terms of creativity, his contribution may have been minimal. But if more executives today just made movies that they wanted to see, I think Hollywood would be a better place. Going back to their silent days, humor was always integrated with their horror. So here are the nominees for the Best Comedy Relief Performance. There's Bud Abbott and Lou Costello as Chick Young and Wilbur Gray in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Una O'Connor is Minnie in The Bride of Frankenstein. The team of Dick Foran and Wallace Gray as Steve Banning and Babe Jensen in The Mummy's Hand. Ernest Schlesinger and Eva Moore as Horace and Rebecca Femme in The Old Dark House. And Nestor Pavia as Lucas in The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And the winner is Una O'Connor and Minnie. Director James Whale just loved Una O'Connor and thought she was so funny, and you could tell by everything he has her do. By the way, the close runner-up was Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. Now enough laughing, let's talk about death. In horror movies, the big moment is when you bring your epic monster down. Universal got this right away, so here are the nominees for the Best Monster Death Scene. When the monster blows everybody up in The Bride of Frankenstein. When Jack Griffin becomes visible again and dies in The Invisible Man. When the monster and the Wolfman have their monster battle, and then the castle floods and Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. When the creature is gunned down in Revenge of the Creature. And when the Wolfman grabs Dracula when he's in bat form, and they both fall into the water in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. We also have a write-in vote for the Wolfman. When Larry Talbot's father, John Talbot, kills the Wolfman and then watches him transform back into his son. We're celebrating this category with a bang. The winner is the monster blowing everyone up in The Bride of Frankenstein. Accepting the award is Dr. Pretorius.
Accepting Oscars is my only weakness.
This ending has everything. It's exciting with the explosions, scary, and tragic with the monster being rejected by the bride. And it has the perfect punchline with the monster saying, "We belong dead," and then he pulls the lever. It's the perfect ending for the movie. By the way, the close runner-up was Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. The sets in these movies were incredibly creative for their time and have been imitated in countless other movies. So here are the nominees for the Spookiest Set Award. The recreation of the Paris Opera House in The Phantom of the Opera, Dracula's Castle in Dracula, Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory in Frankenstein, the forest set in The Wolfman, and Boris Karloff's house in The Black Cat.
And the winner of the Spookiest Set Award goes to Dracula's Castle. I am accepting the award for Mr. Browning because I am the king, no, the count of my castle.
This set, with all its cobwebs, is the perfect scary castle. The close runner-up was Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory.
Now to pay respect to the women of Universal Horror. Here are the nominees for the Best Actress Award.
There's Gloria Holden as Countess Zaleska in Dracula's Daughter, Marilyn Harris as Little Maria in Frankenstein, Elsa Lanchester in the dual role of both the bride and as Mary Shelley in The Bride of Frankenstein, Maria Upskinskaya as Maliva the Gypsy in The Wolfman, and Zita Johann as Helen and Princess Anaximam in The Mummy.
This one surprised me because her part is actually small. But even with a small part, you can still make a huge impression. The winner is Elsa Lanchester as the Bride of Frankenstein. And she wins a new husband.
In the days before computers, it took real ingenuity to pull off special effects on screen. So the nominees for the most spectacular special effects are Count Alucard's man-to-mist transformations in The Son of Dracula by John Fulton, the werewolf transformations in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman by John Fulton, the invisibility effects in The Invisible Man by, guess who, John Fulton, the little people in the bottles in The Bride of Frankenstein by John Fulton, and Dracula's man-to-bat transformations in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein by Walter Lantz. And by an outstanding margin, the winner is John Fulton for his invisibility effects in The Invisible Man. So accepting this special cigarette-shaped Oscar is the Invisible Man himself. You're craving to know how we did it, aren't you? Well, here's the early version of green screen for you.
Before moving on, I'd like to present the special Carla Lumley Award to the original master of horror, Lon Chaney Sr.
Fans of horror all know and love Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Claude Rains, and Lon Chaney Jr., but before all of them was Lon Chaney Sr. Because his movies are silent, they're not shown as much. In fact, one of his scariest performances in London After Midnight is actually lost. However, Lon created the notion of bringing sympathy to his monster roles. Karloff, Chaney Jr. were all following his lead. Lon also did his own makeup, so Jack Pierce was also following Lon's lead. Lon gave Boris acting advice, telling him to do something that no one else could do and do it better than anyone else can. And who knows all the stuff that Lon Chaney Jr. learned from his dad. Lon died in 1930, but if he had lived, he most likely would have played all of the Universal monsters himself. In fact, when Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff were coming into prominence, newspapers would say, will they be the next Lon Chaney? Lon's effect on Universal horror is immeasurable. He created the template. He is the original Universal monster.
Now for the scariest scene, Oscar. Here are the nominees.
There's when Bela Lugosi skins Boris Karloff alive in The Black Cat, when the mummy first wakes up in The Mummy, when the creature kills the natives in The Creature from the Black Lagoon, when two grave robbers are killed by the Wolfman in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, and Dr. Edelman's carriage ride in House of Dracula. We also have two write-in votes, and both are scenes with Dwight Fry as Ranfield. One of them is his rats monologue, and the other is when they discover him laughing in the hull of the boat. And the winner is Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. It's such an eerie and atmospheric opening to the film, with the full moon, spooky mausoleum, the shadows, and the bizarre camera angles. And I just love how we don't see the Wolfman, which creates suspense for his eventual reveal. Accepting this Oscar is the surviving grave robber, and the award is his dead friend.
Thank you for the award. I wonder how much I could sell him for. One of the things that make Universal Horror stand out amongst the rest is the atmosphere. It's like none other. So here are the nominees for the most haunting atmosphere award.
The Mummy, The Wolf Man, The Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Black Cat, and The Raven. We also had write-in votes for Murder in the Rue Morgue and The Bride of Frankenstein. And the winner, creating a dark fairy tale atmosphere with its foggy forest, Hungarian gypsy camp, and old superstitions, is The Wolfman.
And here is the hairiest Oscar we have. While the monsters get all the acclaim, the actors in the human roles add so much to these films. So, here are the nominees for Best Actor in a Human Role.
As Colin Clive is Dr. Henry Frankenstein in Frankenstein. Dwight Fry is Ranfield in Dracula. Bela Lugosi is Igor in Son of Frankenstein. Claude Rains is Sir John Talbot in The Wolfman. And Ernest Schlesinger is Dr. Pretorius in The Bride of Frankenstein.
And the winner is Dwight Fry, is the insane and sympathetic Ranfield. He's just as memorable as Count Dracula. And the fact that he got write-in votes for two separate scariest scenes certainly shows that he's right up there with the monsters. So here is Ranfield himself accepting the special Spider Oscar. Finally, a banquet with good food. And now for the performers that turned these monsters into movie legends. Here are the nominees for the Best Monster Actor.
There's Lon Chaney as the Phantom of the Opera. Bela Lugosi as Dracula. Boris Karloff as the monster in Frankenstein and in The Bride of Frankenstein. Claude Rains is the Invisible Man, and Lon Chaney Jr. is Larry Talbot, aka the Wolfman.
Each actor got a respectable amount of votes, but for two of them, it was absolutely neck and neck. Yes, the two men who kicked off the horror genre in 1931, Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. One day one was winning, the next day the other. But, as of my final tally, winning by the skin of his fangs is Mr. Bela Lugosi as Count Dracula. And here is your award, a lifetime supply of blood. Excellent, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Excellent. Is Satan is my witness. I'll never go thirsty again. You have made a fantastic choice.
Many fine actors have played Dracula, but when you watch Lugosi, he is Dracula. He infused aspects of himself, his charisma, his Hungarian ethnicity, and his signature glare, with the evil characteristics of the Count, and gives this authentic, yet haunting performance that is still creepy today.
And now, for the Best Picture Award.
There's Frankenstein, Dracula, The Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Bride of Frankenstein, The Wolfman, The Invisible Man, The Mummy, The Black Cat, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and The Son of Frankenstein.
While The Wolfman was close, the winner of the Best Picture Oscar is The Bride of Frankenstein.
This movie has everything. First of all, Boris Karloff gives this tragic portrayal of the monster, where he'll scare you one minute and the next have you crying. But every other performer is just as great with their characters. The story is great, and it has so many layers to it that just blend together seamlessly. Sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's sad, and sometimes it's hysterically funny, in a campy and dark humor kind of way. Director James Whale was incredibly creative, and he had even more freedom than normal on this one, and it shows in every frame and in every line.
And accepting this award is the man who made The Bride of Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein. I won! Oh, in the name of God, now I know what it's like to be Sally Field! Because I like hearing myself talk, I have one more award to give. The Cultural Significance Award, which I give to every man, woman, and child, from the directors like Todd Browning and James Whale, to the writers, to the producers, to the people doing the lighting, to the actors, to the boys who brought the coffee, and even to Moose the dog. To every single individual who helped make these wonderful movies possible. You have made our DVD shelves, our world of entertainment, and our lives a better place. Accepting this award is the monster who proves it's always better to be late than never, the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Speaking for everyone, we worked hard and always tried to make a big splash.